is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
Yo, welcome to another episode of The Extra Point. I am your host, as always, Phil Ruskin. We got the whole crew here tonight. We got Kendall, we got Mike, we got Evan. This is the Fantasy Football Network. What up, boys? How's everybody doing?
Good, man.
Did Kendall just say,
Yes, he did.
you rang? By the way, Mike, I was having a conversation with some of my friends today about best baseball movies of all time.
Nice.
Which then turned into best football movies of all time, and Little Giants is easily in the top 5 for me.
Easily.
Yeah. You rang will never not live in my head rent free. So last week we talked about a recap of a Dynasty auction draft that we just finished. It is a 12-team super flex league. Start one running back, start one wide receiver, and the rest of the players are flex. No tight end is required. It is full PPR. We're going to keep going through that specific draft tonight because I think what we didn't have a chance to talk about last week was player values. And so I think it's really important at the top for those that are watching the show. We're going to put the board on the screen here in just a couple of minutes. But for those that are listening to the show, it's really important to understand number one rule of auction. Number one, the league sets the market. So if you're out there on Sleeper, if you're using some of the tools that are available for auction on some of the various sites that are out there, I can't encourage you enough to not worry about what the suggested retail price or the projected price is for these players, because you just don't know where the managers, I should say, in your league are going to value these players. You don't know how the draft's going to go. And then like any other draft, a snake draft, it's going to depend, of course, on your league settings. It's super flex. Is it single quarterback, half PPR, full PPR? There's specific bonuses. Is it tight end premium? So you've got to really dial some of that in. But what we want to talk about is a little bit about where there are some value as it relates to time. And I think I won't say that's the second rule. But I know that, Kendall and Mike were in this league. And so they were part of this draft. And I want to start there because last week we talked a little bit about, some of the draft strategy, right? A little bit more of like the game theory and theory crafting. Kendall, how do you like to spend? Mike, how do you like to spend? Are you looking to anchor your team with two, studs early, and then that's going to take a big chunk out of your budget? Or are you waiting to maybe grab somebody that might be in a tier down, but, you can save $18, $20, $10, whatever it might be that could come in handy later in the draft. So what I want to start with tonight is this. I think time is really important. And while you don't know how long your auction draft is going to take, generally it's about 4 hours, right? 30-second nomination, 30-second bidding. The clock resets under 10 seconds. If there's 2 or 3 bidders, you'll probably have 4 or 5, maybe 6 additional bids once it's down to 2 guys until that player is officially off the board and onto someone's roster. I think where we can find some nuance, and Kendall, I'm going to start with you because you and I have done a ton of these drafts together, tons of them. In fact, if those are new to the show, it's really the only way I will do a startup anymore. Snake to me is just not. You've got to understand the board. You've got to mortgage picks. You might have to throw futures in there. Ultimately, you just can't get the same type of roster construction that you can get in an auction draft. So, Kendall, I believe that within the first 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to have some guys that should, in theory, set the market. But you're also going to have 1 or 2 players that might go a little bit higher. Guys get steamed up. Guys get excited. But I think in that first 15 to 20 minutes, you might be able to get a deal for a player that's maybe, like I said, a tier down, or maybe you have him in that specific tier. And then as some guys start to get a little nervous of, I've spent too much money, they stop. Or guys start to get a little bit antsy. I don't have any players. I still have this money. I've got to get this guy before he goes because I think there's a tier break. And now that starts to become a player that maybe becomes a player that's overvalued. So do you think there's a specific time early in the draft when you can get a player, regardless of position, that you think is going to be of value later on? Or do you think it is truly relative to when a player comes on the board versus how much money guys have in their budget at that time?
I think the very, very first player usually is a value. It just normally everyone's a little bit scared to bite off too much they can chew. Like the second and third player are often not values, but the very, very first player often is. So I try to go in at least being comfortable saying, hey, whoever is that big nomination, because often noms are at the top of a board, right? So it's, Jamar Chase or Josh Allen, right? Bijan or Gibbs. I definitely want to go in knowing, hey, if the nom is one of these guys, are we in? So you got to know the top of every tier. What do you want? And are you going to do it? And if it's there. So yeah, I think the very, very first pick, but after that, I think it's positionally. I think it's a little, time comes into it, but there'll be a bunch of quarterbacks and they're all going to go pretty similar. But I don't think it's not really so much a value as if you're significantly higher on a guy, you're going to get a fair price. So for me, the start of the auction is like, if you have, I did this with Rome basically, where I'm like, I want to know, because auction's about getting your guys, because you have the ability to, and everybody, you buy everybody. You're not just on the clock. You're on the clock with everybody. So everybody you buy, you had to really want it. I want to know if I'm going to get my guy and what I'm going to have left. So I think that kind of sets it from a strategic standpoint of there's waiting to see, am I going to bid on this guy? Am I not? I don't think there's going to be any crazy values in that first at least 30 minutes, in my opinion. You got to be paying attention to it, but everyone's awake and aware and not too drunk yet, right? Like that's the real thing. You got to know the boys are hanging, right? But if there's a guy you're willing to overspend on, because you're that high on him in a 10-team league, you need to be prepared to find the guys you're ready to overspend on, because that's how convicted you are. And you just want to know, am I going to get him? Because if that guy doesn't get nommed until hour 2, it puts you in a weird spot in that first hour of who do I bid on, right? So I just think that's know all of the high tier guys that you like and be prepared to not get a value, but set your roster construction for how you're going to do it, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think you just hit it perfectly, kind of to dovetail off that. Set your roster construction. I said at the top of the show, this particular this particular roster that we had was a one running back, one wide receiver. So, Kendall's team, Mike, if you want to pull the board up, actually, Kendall's team was really interesting because he got Gibbs, and at $62 at a $250 budget, you might say, well, that's a lot of your budget going out the door, right? It's not a great value. But if you only have to start one running back each week, and it can be the same player every week, which of course it can, then you've just cornered the market of, I have the overall 101 in redraft this season. I have the overall 101, 102 at the positional one or two at the running back against Bijan. So it's like, that's fantastic value at the end of the day. So I think that's kind of some nuance. Of course, where it goes from there becomes interesting. And I like the other piece you said, Kendall, too. When I want to come back to this point here about time, I think when you see, and this is a trend, this is not a rule, but a trend that you'll see in a lot of drafts, the first 30 minutes, you're going to have one or two managers in your league that spend, right? They may go out and get 2 big guys. They may get 3 big guys. And I'll use this if you can show, actually, it's highlighted, Mike, but Broshov's team right there, if you can click his team to highlight it. Broshov went hard early with Puka, Justin Jefferson, Drake London. That was his first 3 bids. And at $58, $40, and $42, let's do some simple math. That's $82 plus another $50. That's what, $130, $140 that he spent of his $250. On paper, you go, well, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Now you have no money left over. Garrett Wilson at $25. Decent quarterbacks with Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence. Tight ends are not required, but they are basically wide receivers in this league. So a $17 Tyler Warren becomes a receiver, along with a $7 Sam Laporta. Breece Hall is your anchor running back, and then a bunch of fill-in guys. So and you can take that off the screen there, Mike. But
true studs and duds.
Exactly.
His entire bench is $1.
But and this is where I'm gonna bring in Evan, because Evan, even though auction is always not your preferred format, tell me what you think about this build. And before you answer that really quickly, there is not a world that exists in a snake draft where you can actually get Puka, Justin Jefferson, and Drake London on your team. It can't be done. You'd have to trade your whole draft. So talk to me about your comfort level here, Evan, with if this was your team, are you excited about how top heavy a team like this would be? Or would you rather maybe save some money to have more depth, knowing that it's a dynasty league and you're obviously only replacing 2 to 3 players with the rookie picks each year?
Phil, unfortunately, it's going to sound dismissive of me, but that's not a question I can easily answer because I've never actually done a dynasty auction draft, and it does ultimately depend on the type of league that you're in. Not being in this league, I haven't felt the full vibes of how the auctions were going for every single player. I don't hate Broshov 6's team just looking at the top few players there. I can't see the whole team of how thin it might get at the bottom, but the starting lineup looks pretty freaking good. And as we start to look at the bench depth here with Tank Bigsby, Chris Rodriguez, Isaiah Davis, at least Chico Okonkwo I like, but I am not really liking the rest of these depth pieces for the bench. Maybe that depends on how people like to build their teams in Dynasty, where they don't mind having worthless pieces on the bench because, well, I'm not going to start him anyway, and if somebody gets hurt, this guy's startable. Like, if that's the way you want to play, cool, but I'd be worried.
Yeah, I think most Dynasty teams, you've got guys that are just hanging on. You know what I mean? There's always a segment on every single show. Well, you can't cut that guy. You need that guy, but you never play that guy, and no one's trading for that guy. And I say that guy in parentheses, italics, whatever you want to do there. But you're not doing anything with quote that guy. So to your point, it's like, does it really even matter? Probably not. So I'll ask you this then instead, Evan. Let's say that Broshov decides he doesn't want to be in the league anymore. What would your excitement level on a scale of 0 to 10 be if you took over this orphan team? Let's say you have all of your picks there. You just have, 1, 2, 3, and 4 rounds next year. No trades have been made. This is exactly the roster you get. Are you excited by this group? Are you looking to maybe sell a piece to tier up at the running back position, since that's where you're a little bit weak? What would be maybe your strategy with this kind of a build, knowing that he spent the majority of his money very early on 3 really incredible wide receivers?
With 10 being the highest, I'm going to go 6 out of 10 because the top heavy part is consisting of players that you're almost always going to start no matter what for the next 3 seasons, if not longer. So it's already built for the 3-year window that we like to preach here on the Fantasy Football Network. So I am still worried about that bench depth if I inherited this team, but it's absolutely a team that's ready to win now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other piece for me is, and as we kind of come back to this concept of time, to Kendall's point earlier, you just don't know when a guy that you're waiting on, that is a quote, a my guy, someone that you have to leave this draft with, you don't know when they're going to come on the board. You don't know what kind of money you're going to have left. And again, you don't know who else is going to have money that you're going to compete against. So Mike, I want to bring up a player that's on your roster here because you and I went head to head for this guy, and he was later. He was a little bit later. I had saved some money and earmarked him for this player.
I think we both had the same amount.
I'm sure. I think we were relative. Yeah, we were within a couple dollars. I remember of each other in terms of our max bid. I'm going to pause really quickly for those that may be new to auction. You have let's say for this particular auction, we had a $250 budget.
No, 300.
Sorry, 300. Your max bid is what you're allowed to actually bid on a player because you have to fill your roster. So you can't just spend all of your money. So your max bid might be $173 because you've got to fill the rest of the roster. The system won't allow you to go into the red, basically. So Mike, I want to talk about Kinshawn Judkins, right? He was sold in this league for $31. And he went a little bit later. And this is the classic example of you and I waited. He never came on the board. I think we both probably thought we were going to get a great deal on him. And the league sets. Yeah, we did, right? Because, I have money. Judkins is there. But the league sets the price. Mm-hmm. So when I look at this player, I want to talk about just really quickly your strategy in, did this pay out? Are you happy with this? Or did you feel like, hey, you know what? Phil pushed me a little bit higher than maybe I wanted to go because this player came on the board, I think after like 70, 80 minutes. I mean, he was there for a long time.
Yeah, he went at the 67th player at $31. And he went just after me and you had a nice fun conversation about Kyle Monungai at 61, at 61, and I got him for $7.
Yeah.
So for me, I at that point I had a decent amount of money. I didn't really have many pieces on the board. I got a Mario Hampton for $44, and he was one guy I told myself I want to do all I can to walk out of here with him. And at the same time, I knew I had enough money. I saved it up. I was trying the whole time. I wanted to get off of the way that I did my old draft, which, I basically blew my, the most of my money right in the beginning and kind of did what Broshov did to a point. Actually, I did more like what Dime Sniffer did. But at the end of the day, I was just like, no, I'm going to hold my money. I'm going to wait. And then I waited for my time to get those guys. And, by then, like you said, it was pretty late. And, the guys that went after him or that, that got nominated after him for running back was Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, who else? I mean, Cam Scatterboot a little bit later, which I'm happy I got. I kind of got a discount on Cam Scatterboot for the amount that I had to pay for Junkins. So for me, it was actually not a horrible move, but I know that me and you were going at it. At one point, I was just like, my limit kept changing. I was like,
Sure.
30. I was like $30, and then you ended up. I tried doing $2 bets at one point. I always like doing the $2 when I'm at the point. You pushed me to the $30, and I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna hit it. And I did $31 just because at that point I was like, you know what, it's $1 more. I don't care at that point. And it was enough to get it. So for me, I was just like, it was worth it for a guy like him. I'm really happy about it. Young, talented running back, still has many years under him, and is going to be on an up and coming team that hopefully moves in that direction. So I was pretty happy with it overall. I love my running back room. I thought I had a really good room for the prices that I paid for the guys that I have. So I always try to keep things a little bit more spread out than someone like Broshov, who spent all of his money early on wide receivers, and to be fair, the format kind of fits wide receiver a little more than running back, but
Right.
I wanted to corner the market on running back at that point, and I thought I did pretty well with trying to spread out my money a little bit and get guys that really fit, a good mold. And
Yeah, I mean, we did a little bit of roster breakdown last week, so I'm not going to dive in on that too much. I do agree. I think your depth at running back is probably the best running back room in the league. I think it is. I don't really think there's anyone else that comes close. So that part was great. Kendall, I want to throw it to you here because as we start to talk about values, I know we did some tiers rankings before this. Kinshawn Judkins, where do you have him in your rankings, and at what tier do you have him?
So I don't have them all perfectly ranked out. It's more just like a kind of a tier list situation for me right now.
Yep.
There's the Bijan Gibbs like alpha tier for me.
Sure.
Right afterwards, I have like a little mini tier of creeping on that elite tier, could make it, but just outside.
Yep.
And then there's one tier outside of that, and that's where I have Judkins near the top of it with my, I think, like, one, they're all very young. They're very, very good. They're kind of in that, like, he's in a similar grouping as like Brees and Kenneth Walker and Scadaboo for me, where it's kind of a mix of, the guys in the 2 years above, but right in that draft class. Yep. I love his age. And I love his adjusted production profile, just in terms of how often he's on the field and what he does with it. So basically, he's the top of tier 3 for me. Compared to market, I am above market on him.
Yeah, and see, he's the reason I bring him up is he's interesting, right? Like I have him currently in tier 4 at 16th overall in my rankings.
Whew.
But hear me out. Here's the caveat: the Browns' offense is garbage. They get a quarterback in there, he vaults instantly a tier higher, and probably 4 to 6 places higher, easily inside the top 10 for me. So that is as of this day, this ranking, this recording.
So yeah, then I want to ask you, for your tier 3 at around the 6th, who do you have?
So I'll give you my tiers. I have Bijan and Gibbs in their own tier. I have Hampton, Gentee, and Cook, tier 2, their own tier. I have Achane and JT in their own tier. And then I have this kind of grouping of McCaffrey, KW3, Breece Hall, and Chase Brown. Right?
Okay.
Now I have some guys that so in the same tier with Kinshawn Judkins. Could he be higher than Barkley? Yes. Should he be higher than Barkley? Yes.
Yes.
He's not today, because if you're playing in a 2-year window, and that's how I like to play Dynasty, and this is how I've done my rankings, on paper, Saquon could and should, unless the Browns completely change, should have a better path to success. Kyron, Travion Henderson, Bucky Irving. I could easily see Judkins ahead of all of those guys. Right?
So
that's,
I'm not crazy for putting Judkins as my RB13?
No, not at
Do
all.
you think that's crazy high? Because am I the highest on Judkins in rankings?
What do you have?
Where are you at?
He's my RB12.
No.
Oh
that's not
my,
crazy
no.
at all.
I
Not at
am
all.
the highest.
Where do you have him, Mike? At 8?
6.
6. All right.
Yeah.
Who's the top 5? You have Bijan, Gibbs, Hampton, Genty, and Cook?
No, I have HN above that. Cook, I
Okay.
have a little lower.
So you have
Cook,
you have Judkins ahead of James Cook.
I'll say it's not. I don't think it's crazy though. I
don't
was
think it's
just
crazy
looking at my own
either.
rankings. I would rather own Judkins than Cook, JT,
I'd rather have
Breece,
both.
Chase Brown, Barkley. If I just give you like the who I'd rather own him over, it's hard to rank him higher. But in my own like heart of hearts, where I really have him ranked, yeah, he's like 8 or 9 for me.
Yeah. So this is why I brought him up. This is the perfect player to have this conversation about. Because in this league, and I've said it twice, and this will be the third time I've said it on the show, the league dictates the market price. James Cook, $33. Chase Brown, $27. Kinshawn Judkins, $31. So that's a $3, basically $4 delta, top to bottom between those. It's a $7 delta, but it's a $3 to $4 difference between Judkins in the middle of those two players, both of which you said you'd rather have. Excuse me, you said you'd rather have Judkins over both of those guys, right?
I'd rather have
and then
both,
we talk about a player that is above that, right? Achane at $38, Hampton at $44. And now we're starting to get into that upper echelon, Genty, Bijan, and Gibbs in the 60s and the low 50s and 60s. So I don't think that that's that mispriced, even though on paper you're saying, well, hold on, it's a second-year player. It's not a great offense. There's probably going to be yet another new quarterback. How long is the coach going to be there? Like, there's a lot of ways it goes wrong. Sure. But let's take that and flip it, because this is why you guys heard me say this on a best ball show a couple weeks ago. This is why Kinshawn Judkins is my number 1 drafted player in best ball, because he's so low. Because of those reasons, I look at him and I say, well, they're going to feature him because the offense can't throw the ball because the quarterbacks suck.
They're gonna have to.
Well, Harold Fannon's a good player, but they've got young wide receivers who are all rookies. How well are they going to do? How much volume are they going to get? What's the target share going to be like? Dylan Sampson is a good handcuff, but he's not somebody that this is not a timeshare where if Zach Charbonnet was healthy, you'd have Jadarian Price and Zach Charbonnet probably on a 50-50 split. So I think you can make the inverse argument of that. So it's interesting because that's the kind of player where there is disparity. I've got the fantasy footballers rankings up right now. They've got Judkins at 16. They've got Chase Brown at 10. They've got James Cook at 7. Right. And those are the players we're just talking about. And then, of course, I think, you've got the Jeremiah Loves and the Gibbs and the Hamptons and the Genties. So, Mike, do you have him ahead of Jeremiah Love, Kinshawn Judkins?
Yeah.
Wow.
Significantly higher.
Wow. I mean, talking about bad offenses, Jeremiah Love, poor guy. It's
Well,
going to be a long season, but we'll get there.
I mean, to be fair, Jeremiah Love's pretty good RB2,
Yeah. There's just so many.
Those camp videos are brutal, dude.
Yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, it's just been a bad. Arizona's tape just looks so bad.
Don't talk to me about Marv right now. I literally
We'll talk about
it
later,
I can't
actually.
handle it.
No,
I
it's
physically
tough.
can't handle it.
It's
But
tough.
no, the reason why I am so high on him is just what the Browns have done to try to basically, I want to say feature him, like you said. They've done a lot where they've put in money into their line. They added some decent decent depth at their interior guard, which is where they've been having issues with. They signed Zion Johnson. They bought in Quincy Williams for their defense to improve on that, which is another reason why I'm high on him. Todd Monken really is a coach that loves to run the ball. He always has been, always will be.
Agreed.
And on top of that, like I said, they even though they added guys like Casey Conception, Boston, they have Cedric Tillman, they have Isaiah Bond, they have a bunch of young Michael Corley. They have all these like really mediocre wide receivers that have spike weeks. So they're trying to put pieces around to kind of take a little pressure off the box. And at the same time, all they're trying to figure out is their particular quarterback. Now, at this point, they're going to try to keep whoever that quarterback is safe. And the best way to do it is hand it off to a bell cow guy that they have, that they were waiting for, and to give it to him. And right now, I feel like he is that prototype guy that can do well. I'm just looking now. Signed Michael Burton as well. Another, he's one of the top fullbacks in the league. They are doing all they can to give this guy the ball as many times as possible. Just from the volume standpoint, age, everything that is currently going on with him is just it's just screaming for him to have a top 5 year.
I mean, I would argue that Michael Burton is more there because they can't protect the quarterback.
Well, I mean, you're only going to be using the fullback in offset I and I. So, I mean, it's really one of those things where you're only using that for a run protection or if he's decent at pass protection. But, they're using him they're using him as another blocker. They're trying to get other guys in to block for Junkins in one way or another. So I'm just really high on what they're looking to do. When you see teams going in a direction of trying to put pieces around them to make their star players better, it makes it where you go, that you find that one person they're highlighting, and that's the guy. I've seen it with other teams. They did it with Justin Herbert. They've done it with who else? Tyler Shuck. They're doing it with Bryce Young. They're trying to do it with all these guys where they're giving them weapons, they're giving them protection. They're trying to do everything they can to highlight a certain player. In this case, to me, it seems like they're doing it with Junkins over a guy like over guys like Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. So let's
play a game because I love my games.
I know.
I love my games.
It's going to be a hard one if you're using Junkins.
Evan, this game will be for you. It is a quick fire game that we do on the show. It is instant answer. Are you ready?
With how often you like to play these games, Phil, they should make another Saw based on you.
That would be great. I would love that. That would be awesome. We will do. Kendall actually texted me. He had a great show idea, which should be the game show, and I think we're going to do that in the next couple of weeks coming up.
Yes,
we need to bring back. We need to bring back Legit or Bullshit. That is a fantastic segment. Legit or Bullshit. You guys know I love my lines, and to be fair, you guys have told me I set pretty good lines that make you think. So I love that. We do need to continue to play King of the Hill. I've got other games we can play, but we're going to play King of the Hill. Evan, you ready?
Let's do it.
Would you rather have Javonte Williams or Kyron Williams?
Javonte.
Okay, Javonte Williams. Sorry, this is a dynasty focus, not redraft. Saquon Barkley or Javonte Williams?
Saquon for 2 seasons.
Okay, Javonte or Cam Scattaboo?
I'll take Javonte.
Javonte or Josh Jacobs?
Javonte easily.
Javonte Bucky Irving?
Javonte.
Javonte or Travis Etienne?
Etienne.
Okay. So, of all the Javonte or Jadarian Price?
I'll take Jadarian Price.
Interesting. Mike, Kendall, same question. Javonte or Jadarian Price?
Javonte.
I'm on the Javonte side as well. And it's not trying to single Evan out. I'm going to use it. I asked that because I want to do this exercise, and that's the last name. Of all the names I just gave you, those were all players that were sold in the same range as price-wise. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, right? There's auction content that's out there. There's not a ton of it. Anyone that is setting a projection on a price, stop it. Just stop it. The league sets the market. Here's why I brought up Javonte. We just listed off, 6 guys, 7 guys, and I think the only players you all said consensus you'd rather have would be Saquon for 2 seasons. And there was somebody else that I lost my
Jadarian Price and Etienne.
No, I have Jadarian Price as my RB17 and Javonte at RB18, which is why I had to think about that one.
Okay. Wow. Here's my point. Javonte Williams was sold for cheaper than all of those players. He has no competition. He has an offense that is going to score a lot of points. The downside of Dallas is they actually have a better defense, but I still think that they're going to score a ton of points, even if the defense
wait. They have a better defense? They have a crap defense.
Yes, Mike, but if you take a step up from dog shit, you're still in the bullshit area. So, or whatever you wanted. I made that up. It didn't work. I'm going to workshop that one, but
we'll get it in the merch store.
If you went from 0 to 5, you took a step up, even though you're a long way from 100. My point is that they are going to score points, whether the defense is leaking or whether the defense is actually keeping the games competitive.
They have to. Yeah.
They have to. Their team is just too good. George Pickens, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Javonte, and there's no competition. That is a value.
Yeah.
When there is a player like that, let's just say, forget the projections and forget the dollar amounts for sale value. When you have a player that was almost unanimously taken over all the other names that I just listed off, that is what the definition of a value is. So let's switch gears here. There is somebody that I have highlighted on my sheet here that I want to talk about at the wide receiver position. Before I do, really quickly, Evan, in or out on A.J. Brown for 2 seasons?
I am so in on A.J. Brown for 2 seasons.
Mike, in or out for 2 seasons?
I'm in on him for 3 seasons.
Kendall, 2 or 3 seasons?
2.
Okay. A.J. Brown sold in this league for $23.
Yeah.
Mike, it is your turn to play King of the Hill. You ready?
Sure.
This one's a tough one. I don't want to start with this one, but I have to because this is the prices.
Oh, no.
A.J. Brown or Luther Burden? Cover your ears, Kendall.
Yeah, it's A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson?
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown or Carnell Tate?
Tate, just because of age.
A.J. Brown or Ladd?
Ladd.
A.J. Brown or Pickens?
Pickens.
A.J. Brown or Olave?
Olave.
A.J. Brown or Rome?
I have them back to back. It's going to be Rome.
Okay. So he's actually priced, according to you, not in a terrible place. Did we lose Kendall? He left. He was over the show. He was just like, I got to go. This show's terrible. Like, we're leaving.
No, I think he drops them.
Okay. Evan, your turn. King of the Hill. A.J. Brown or Zay Flowers?
I'm going to go A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith.
A.J. Brown easily.
A.J. Brown, T. Higgins.
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown, Mekhi Lemon.
A.J. Brown.
Jordan Tyson.
A.J. Brown.
Rashee Rice.
A.J. Brown.
BTJ.
A.J. Brown for 2 seasons.
Okay. So this is where it gets interesting because you've got a player that this is what the definition of ageism is.
Yeah.
You have a player that based on this league, I'm not going to get into the top guys because we obviously know that you're taking the Jamar Chases and the Pukas and you're taking JSNs. So obviously that's not a question. That's why I stopped. But you have a player here who is the number 1 for his team, who's got 2 seasons left at a minimum, I think, of relevant contribution to your fantasy team as wide receiver 2 numbers with borderline wide receiver 1 upside. I mean, is that where we are with his outlook? It's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be with Drake May. They're going to be on a good offense. That's all they right now. They are just short of that wide receiver 1. Like that's what they need.
I mean,
I have A.J. Brown as my wide receiver 19 in Dynasty, and I am actually considering bumping him up.
Likewise. Yeah, me too.
You have him as your wide receiver 19 in Dynasty.
Yeah, and it's only because of age. Because that's his biggest. That's unfortunately his biggest downfall is age. Other than that, his talent outweighs about half of those guys that you listed.
Mike, where do you have him?
I told you I have him at 19.
You have him at 19. It's ageism.
And it's yeah.
You don't want to know where don't want to know
that.
where I have him.
You probably have him at 40.
I have him at 9.
Holy Nike.
Okay.
I have him at 9. I just looked at it, and here's why. A.J. Brown. Now, this is ageism. If A.J. Brown was 3 or 4 years younger, let's play this game. A.J. Brown or Garrett. A.J. Just bear with me. So we're talking about talent. We're talking about talent production for, again, keep in mind, we play Dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window. So actually, forget the age. Forget the age.
Yeah, I'll
Who
take
would you
AJ.
rather have for 2 to 3 years if you knew that they were going to be healthy, play all 17 games, 18 games, but that doesn't count. We only care about the playoffs in 17 weeks in fantasy. So 17 games, they were going to be fully healthy, and they were going to be able to produce for you at their max output capacity. Okay? AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson?
AJ Brown.
Garrett Wilson.
Okay. George Pickens or AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
Okay. Devonta Smith?
AJ Brown.
Oh, it's AJ Brown.
Lad McConkey?
AJ Brown.
Lad.
Okay. Nico?
Nico.
All right. Ebuka?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
Tet? Chris Olave?
I'll take Teteroa McMillan over AJ Brown, but not Chris Olave over AJ Brown.
Okay.
I would
So
take
there's-
Chris Olave over.
So there's at least 5 to 6 guys I just listed off in a 2-year window. You would rather have AJ Brown over, which is again the
So-
definition of ageism.
Well, in redraft, in my redraft rankings, I have him at 8.
But when you're looking at a dynasty roster, right? I understand there are people who are, I'm going to have him for 10 years. Okay, maybe you don't even know that. At some point, you're going to, right? Like, yeah, Kendall's a little bit like that sometimes. There's certain, now listen, if I have Bijan Robinson, am I going to have him for 10 years? Maybe.
Yeah.
But there's comes a point when I'm probably going to sell him because the value is just too good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I'll give an example. So in one of my dynasty leagues, we started it up prior to Saquon Barkley's rookie season. I ended up drafting.
So that's been around a while.
It's been a minute. And the 101 I ended up getting was Saquon Barkley. And he was my 101, which he was my treasure for years. And in this league, it's my salary cap league. And one of the things in that league that makes me look at rookies and look at just players in general differently is just how the price increases every year. And then you have to make a decision when they get to a price where you're just like, no, I'm not keeping them anymore.
Understood.
And that was 2 years ago for me. So he got to about 30, I think it was like $31 or 30 something in the 30s. And I had to make a choice. I either got to keep him, and one of my guys in the league offered Puka Nacua for $2 because he was drafted sixth round for everybody, in rookie drafts. Like he went at the very end of drafts, and Puka Nacua was for $2, and the guy wanted a first round pick with Barkley, and I asked for a second in return. Okay, done. Like, because of the price difference and the fact of age and all that, it just made the most sense for me to do at that time because of the fact that I've had him for the last 5-6 years and his price went up. I view it a lot that way in Dynasty, even when it's not like that, because I put these guys with some type of price on it, and then I want to see if that value changes throughout my time of wanting them. Like you said, AJ Brown could, you're drafting him at what did we say? 20, what was it? $23?
$23.
Do I want, like, in 2 years, if his price went up by 2.5% or 2% in the next 3 years, do I want that amount of price, towards my cap every year? That's how I kind of view it. And honestly, it helps me understand things a little bit better with my team. So he's a steal when it comes to this. When it comes to rankings and stuff, it's a little different, but he's a very talented back. And yes, ageism affects our rankings, not even just ours, but everybody in the industry. And your salary cap league is a unique beast. We're not going to tackle that on this show. No, but
every time you text me a question, should I trade this? I always answer, is this your salary cap league? Because I'm not answering if it's your salary cap league.
But it's a good way to understand Dynasty, and it's a good way to understand the general nuances of how long to keep a player and for, is it worth it towards your particular build and stuff like that. So it's just a good. Yeah.
It's interesting to me because you've got a player here in this particular draft at $23.
Yeah.
Right. Who has done nothing except produce for you the last 4 years, multiple wide receiver 1 seasons, 3 of his last 4 actually, and then the 24 season he was injured. He only played 13 games, and he was still wide receiver 20. He finished at the wide receiver 12 in Tennessee. So it's like, I'm looking at the numbers right now. There's only been 1 season in AJ Brown's career where he has not finished as a wide receiver 2. It was an injury season. His last year in Tennessee, played 13 games, finished as a wide receiver 32. He was still a wide receiver 3. So I'm not sitting here saying that you need to make AJ Brown the centerpiece of your team. I do this all the time with my teams. I draft younger guys. We all do it. We all take the rookie pick. We take the highest ceiling guy we can take in the first round. We take, we want the Carnell Tates, and we want the, Mekhi Lemons, and we want those guys on our roster. And I get it. And I have those guys on my rosters too. I just think there's a world where when you're looking at value in an auction draft, that is the definition of a value. 100%. Now you can say, hey, I have AJ Brown at $23 for $3 extra. Man, I could have gone up and got Carnell Tate. Okay. And what if Carnell Tate busts? Would you rather have, here's my question, Evan, AJ Brown, this one's probably pretty easy. AJ Brown or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
AJ Brown.
Mike.
Same.
So that's the 101 from 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're both telling me, but that answer is you would rather have a 29. I just lost him.
29 and change.
Yeah, 29.1-year-old wide receiver over the 101. Evan, you just took over in the Dynasty League with me, an orphan team. It was not a great roster. Why it's an orphan. You just traded the 104 in the form of Travis Hunter. For what? Do you remember what you got back? Because I do. What'd you get back?
I got back a 3rd-round pick for next year.
That is how quickly it can change.
Mm-hmm.
That is how quickly it can change. Now, could you be wrong? Yeah, of course you could. Every trade, you have the possibility of being wrong. But I would never. I think you offered me during the draft. You offered me Travis Hunter for a second, and I politely said no because I'd rather have the shot on the second. The 104, I had Anthony Richardson on a roster. I spent the 103 in a super flex league on Anthony Richardson. We all did. He was either the 103 or the 104 that year. It was basically, it was
the 102.
It was Stroud, Young, and Richardson. Those were the first 3 picks in super flex that season.
Yeah.
I don't think you can actually sell Anthony Richardson for anything.
No.
I dropped him in a league the other day. And guess what? He's still on the waiver wire, and he's going to be on the waiver because nobody wants him.
No one wants him.
He across the board, he is a drop. There's no reason to roster even in a superflex league Richardson.
Yeah, I think I dropped him for like Eli Raridan. In fact, I'm almost positive that's what I did because I needed a tight end. Raridan was like on the waivers. This was I shouldn't say the other day. This was right after the draft, so this was back in April. But it was a only a 3-round rookie draft. Raridan didn't get drafted. He was like the top waiver pick, and I spent a decent amount of fab. I think probably 20% of my budget to go and grab him, and I dropped Richardson.
Yeah, I did the same.
It doesn't make me feel good now, knowing that I basically just dumped the 104 back to the fish pond. But
I luckily for him, I drafted him as the 102, and I wanted Stroud, and instead at the end of the year, I ended up trading Anthony Richardson for CJ Stroud and Trey McBride. I had to add like a first and a second, but I was just like, here, like I want to get rid of him. Ended up getting rid of him, and in a trade, and got a huge return for that. So
I do want to make a point that I don't want dynasty players to put too much on. Draft capital doesn't matter as much as real life because players bust all the time, like what we're just discussing. What if Carnell Tate busts? What if Marvin Harrison doesn't take advantage of his last chance to be the wide receiver 1 in the Cardinals?
Yep.
These players bust all the time, even if it's first-round capital. Phil, I think you and I also spent a first on Caleb Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's also looking like a first-round bust.
Do not put that evil on me, Evan.
I did not do that ever.
I thought I heard you say that. I'm
No,
sorry, but
no.
regardless,
I have
a lot of us
Kendall
did.
probably
Zero shares.
I was
going to
say Kendall.
Johnson.
Kendall
Caleb,
probably did.
Kendall did 100%.
Kendall
My
definitely
bad.
did.
And
Caleb Johnson.
Fair enough, and he's not with us right now. But yes,
Yeah.
but the point being, a lot of us spent a first on Caleb Johnson, thinking
Correct.
he'd be valuable in that backfield. And if he busts, then first round pick doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Yeah, we
So-
said that about Royce Freeman
and a lot
years
of people
ago.
and a lot of people went to the waiver wire and picked up this Puka Nachua guy because they had no fucking clue where he was, and they don't even know where Brigham Young is, and all of a sudden they went, oh, it's not Nachua, it's Nakua. Oh, he's pretty fucking good at football. Oops. So it goes both ways. I think we are getting a little bit away from it, but I think the point I wanted to make with this AJ Brown thing was, this is when I look at these players, right? Is AJ Brown in an Amon-Ra tier and a CD Lamb? Of course not. Of course not. Could he outproduce them over the next 2 years? Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could. Is he Jamar Chase? No. But you look at this board, the number one wide receiver on this board, $61. $300 budget, $61. JSN. Chase and Puka, $58 each. And then you get a $9 discount for the wide receiver 4 by price in this draft with Amon-Ra. And then CD at 45, Neighbors at 45, London at 42, JJ at 40, and then there's the big tier break, and now we start to get into the 30s. So when you look at that, I think there is a world where AJ Brown, I know you guys said you'd rather have, it was kind of split AJ Brown over certain players that I've given you, but between Emeka Egbuka and AJ Brown is a $9 delta. There is a world where AJ Brown outproduces Luther Burden, Garrett Wilson, Carnell Tate, Ladd, Pickens, Olave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's where you can come across as, hey, I did it. I don't want Saquon Barkley on my roster. It's ugly. It doesn't make me feel good, but I have James Cook and Chase Brown. I wasn't paying attention when you got Omar and Hampton, Mike. That was my target as well. And I've told you, you and I had this conversation privately. I would have gone to 50 because I have Omar and Hampton as the overall RB3 in Dynasty in my rankings. I have him ahead of Genti. I have him in tier 2, just behind Bijan and Gibbs. I think with Mike McDaniel and the Chargers, there is a world this year, if it goes well. I don't think he makes that kind of a leap because that's a big leap. But I think he firmly cements himself as the RB3 if he has a big season, or if he has the season we're all expecting him to have, right? Yeah. So then you look at a player like Judkins. Here's why I brought up Judkins earlier, right? Because we do think there's a world where he outproduces other guys, and we wanted him, and we have him higher than some of the players that he is in that same bidding tier as. But I was able to take that $31. And I was able to get Jordan Tyson and Saquon Barkley for 35.
While we were talking about AJ Brown and Marvin Harrison Jr., I adjusted my rankings in this conversation. AJ Brown is now my wide receiver 14, and I moved Marvin Harrison down to 31.
I didn't, for the purposes of tonight, I only ranked out 26 guys. He's not even in the mix for me inside the top 26. So I want to talk about quarterback, and we'll kind of wrap the show on quarterback, guys. And I'm not going to go through prices and values because I think it's such a niche market. It's so difficult. And in a super flex or in a start 2, which is basically a super flex, right? You just have to get guys. And, Kendall and I were talking about this a little bit back, pre-show. This is not a toot my horn thing. I want to use my roster as an example because I think you can do it this way. There's a guy in the league, T. Hummel. Mike, can you pull his team real quick, please?
T? Yeah.
Yeah, T. Hummel. I think this is a really strong quarterback room. Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford. That's a great quarterback room. Let's pull Basonator's quarterback room. He only has 3 all the way at the end at the 110 there. He only has 3 quarterbacks, but certainly much higher ceiling. Josh Allen, Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes. So that is a great quarterback room to have. Now pull my team.
Oh, I was going to say, forgot the best team.
What's the best team?
Mine.
Shut up. You have Bryce Young on your roster. It ain't the best team. It is now because you traded for Jackson Dart, but not at the draft. So I have Dak Prescott and Malik Willis, and it's not sexy. It's not sexy at all.
No.
But if you look at T. Hummel's team, let's go back to T. Hummel. 18 and 18 is what? The 36?
36, yeah.
36 plus another 30, 66 plus 10. So he spent, what I just say, $76 on the quarterback position alone. That's
And
great.
you only start 2.
And you actually don't have to start 2. Technically, it's super flex. It's not a start 2 league. So everyone will, but you don't have to, right?
That is a lot of money for a position where you only have to start 1, but optionally can start 2. That's
Correct.
Way too much money to my liking for that.
And that's kind of the point I'm bringing up is I think when you get into these auction drafts, unless I have an auction draft coming up, we haven't set the date yet. There's a 12-team league. We've got, I think, 4 or 5 spots left to fill. Kendall's in it. But it is going to be a heavy, heavy quarterback because of the scoring. It's 1 point for every 10 yards instead of 1 point for every 25 yards.
Holy shnikes.
So it's a very heavy, the league is called Omaha. I think it's pretty aptly named because it's obviously a very heavy quarterback scoring format. Now, I run a lot of different leagues. I like to have different scoring formats to keep things fun because nobody wants to play in the same league 8 times. That gets boring, right? So
I do.
Well,
yeah, I like boring.
I know. You like CJ. You like CJ Stroud. You think he's nice and safe, and whatever. You hate Josh Allen. He's too volatile for you.
Oh no, I love Josh.
I'm kidding. You just. Here's my point, guys. My point is this is kind of my things to pay attention to in an auction draft. Quarterbacks are going to go higher than you want them to because they are so scarce. It's the same argument you can make for the tight end position. The difference and the reason I'm not highlighting tight end is because there's only about 3 or 4 of them that you really want. And then there's maybe a couple that you can live with, and then you're just out. Whereas
that's not true for me anymore.
How many do you have?
I would say there's 15 that I would be happy to have as a tight end 1. Okay, maybe not 15, more like 12. I'd be thrilled with 12, and then the other 12 that would be tight end 2s, I'd be fine to start on a pinch if I'm desperate. They're at least startable. And then anything after that is an even bigger dart throw.
Yeah, see, so for me, I just think the delta between, and we've done this, Kendall and I have done this on previous shows, we've done the math on this. The delta between tight end 8 and tight end 15 is like 25 to 30 points.
Yeah.
The delta between Trey McBride, basically what the last couple years of tight end 1s have done when Bowers, Laporta, McBride have all finished in that tight end 1 spot, the delta is like 80 or 90. I mean, they're lapping the field. You can't replace that. So I hear you. I don't want to have that conversation because I want to keep it on the quarterbacks, but I think I'll end the tight end thing with this. I think that the tight end pool is getting deeper.
Yes.
So that's positive. It used to be, it was, if you didn't get Kelsey or Andrews, you just got nothing. It was dog shit, but like there just wasn't anything, right? It was scraps. Now you've got 4, 5, 6 guys that are top end, 2 guys that are top end. We think these 2 rookies are going to take a leap forward. Anyway, let's come back to quarterbacks. The quarterback position in an auction league is something I think that you can do one of 2 things. I think you can go and cement yourself at the position and then be really intelligent about how you trade and how you draft. Or you can take the tact that, I'm not saying me, because I think Joseph did this well, and he was right next to me. Now this is auction, so the draft position doesn't matter. It's not like I had the 101 and he had the 102 because it's nominations. But he went and got Bo Nix and Fernando Mendoza, and then he grabbed some cheap guys late. Kyler Murray, Ty Simpson, Aaron Rodgers, like JJ McCarthy. Nothing sexy, right? But his team, Luther Burden, Tedero McMillan, Christian McCaffrey, Mekhi Lemon, Jonathan Taylor, those are all startable high-end players that on any given week can win you a week, and ultimately I think are going to push you higher than what a T. Hummel's team is. Even those quarterbacks room is sexy. It's really good looking. You've got George Pickens, Zay Flowers, and Devontae Adams, and then you've got a huge drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
Huge drop-off. Parker Washington. Everyone... we don't know what's going to happen in Jacksonville. There's like 16 wide receivers in that room. You know what I mean? It's Mike Evans, great for 2 more seasons. Chris Godwin, great for 2 more seasons. Chris Brazzell,
IR.
Yeah, Chris Brazzell out as of today. Debo doesn't have a job. Diggs doesn't have a job. So my point is this. I think when you talk about value, I'm not going to talk about, this quarterback's a value at this price, because they're really, it gets pretty nuanced. But if you could pull my team, and again, I'm not sitting this to toot my horn because my team could suck. Maybe the quarterbacks completely let me down and I don't even make the playoffs. But my point being is you can take that money that you're not spending. Evan, to your point, $76 was way too much money to spend on quarterbacks when you only have to start 2, and reinvest that into 2 or 3 more skill position guys that you are going to start either at a skill position or in a flex spot every single week. So I think in summation, what I want to say is this: don't freak out if you only leave a draft with 2 quarterbacks. Don't freak out if you don't leave a draft with Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, and your QB1 is, it's not sexy, but your quarterback 1 is Brock Purdy. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. Right? It doesn't have to be that, you've got to I've got to leave with Burrow. I've got to leave with Jackson. I've got to leave with May. It's okay if you don't. So I think to me, that's where, this league that I have coming up, completely different because it's going to be so quarterback heavy. Everyone's going to spend crazy amount of money on quarterbacks, and that's how it should be. But I think when you have a more standard 1 point for every 25-yard scoring format, even if it's 4 or 6 on the passing touchdown side, take advantage. This is the value prop. Take advantage of someone that has invested, multiple managers that have invested a ton into that position. Go buy yourself an extra running back for depth. Go buy yourself a higher end wide receiver. Go get an Amon-Ra. Go get a Puka, get a JSN, and pay up for that. Go get a Gibbs, get a Bijan, because that's where you can make a huge difference, because ultimately those players are what I think is going to win you the league versus if you have Dak Prescott. What's the delta between Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow? Not
much.
Yeah,
not that. And that's assuming that they both play. Everything presumes
11,
health, right?
Or no, $21.
$21.
Yeah.
$21. And there is absolutely a world where Dak Prescott outproduces Joe Burrow.
Oh, 100%.
So that's my point. So you can do that.
I
Evan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't spoken to T. Hummel myself, and I wasn't sure what plan that person had going into this draft, but I think it's the nature of Superflex to get that anxiety where people feel like, get the quarterback, win the championship. You still need to field a complete team, and when you overspend on quarterback, you're going to hurt yourself, to your point, Phil, on other positions where you could have spent up and gotten a better running back, gotten a better wide receiver that can help you win maybe 2 or 3 additional weeks because you were too heavy at quarterback, and you're only starting 2 at maximum anyway, and you got 2 sitting on the bench that you can't even use. So we'll see if T. Hummel ends up trading those quarterbacks to get other pieces, but banking on the trade strategy might not work.
I mean, right now, I'll tell you this. He and I have been in talks about quarterbacks, and he wants way too much for Baker and Goff. Way too much. And I would rather, because I'm the most quarterback needy team in the league, I would rather do one of 2 things. I would either trade one of my pieces that I can live without because I have good depth and just go get someone super cheap and still not have to mortgage my capital for 27 because, again, that's the greatest class of all time. But I'd rather go take somebody super cheap and go get Geno and a pick next year and just get through the season with keeping my ceiling high versus, okay, do I go all in and mortgage 27 first, mortgage a 27 second, and go buy somebody? I'm considering doing that because I have a really high ceiling. And
Phil,
my
can
team
we
is
see
a
the
little
quarterback
older.
depth that you picked up for $1 each?
Yeah,
it was quite fun.
That's a good. So that's an interesting component of it as well. Is I was down basically to I had one player that I could get at $2, and Joe Stafar and Kendall both had 2 or 3 players that they could get at $2. So when the quarterbacks that I was trying to snag, the Carson Becks, the Genos, the Jacoby Brissetts, even Aaron Rodgers and even disgusting JJ McCarthy, they got them from me they just put up $1 more. I was just basically out. So what I ended up with was Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, all of which are not irrelevant, but certainly not going to play relevant minus an injury. Malik Willis for $11 and Dak Prescott for 27. So at least I've got the Dak component every week. I've got Malik Willis sort of. We don't know what. I mean, we have a small sample
He'll be
size,
fine as a QB2.
Yeah, he's a starter, and I'll probably end up having to play, a skill position on the bye week. But I've got David Montgomery.
You can pay for Bryce Young.
And I don't have Bryce Young on my roster as a rule, so I won't be paying for Bryce Young.
Phil,
let's pull Broshev's team really. Go ahead, Evan and Mike. Well,
if
Evan's going pull Broshev, please.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, if Sam Darnold gets injured, you've got Jalen Milroe. I could imagine one of these teams just being desperate for quarterback, wanting to buy Jalen Milroe off of you, and then you just responding like, oh, well, he's starting, so I want a first.
Yeah, no, yeah, that even I don't. I mean, let's be honest, that's not happening. But yeah, I think it's interesting because you've got like Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins is probably starting for a couple weeks at least. When is the Dolphins bye? Week 6. Maybe I could get one extra week where I get Kirk Cousins for week 6. I don't think so, but
they said he's going to play. They said Cousins is going to play a good majority of the year.
Listen, the Raiders bye isn't until week 13. I doubt they're going to wait 13 weeks to make that change at the bye week. But
6-8 is usually the the turning point.
How about week 7 so that I can at least get Kirk Cousins to give me some points on, then we move on. Anyway, let's finish the show with
trade for Bryce Young.
No, that will not be happening. You do have somebody now that you have likely. Oh, Tyler Shuck. That's who I wanted.
Yeah.
I'll buy Tyler Shuck from you. That I'll do.
Yeah.
Broshev is interesting because he's also a very quarterback needy team, but I want to just finish the show and illustrate this point. Again, this is, I think, even though we started the show with you, Evan, saying there's a lot of volatility in this team, in this roster, the depth isn't very good. Here's what I like about this team relative to the point I just made about quarterback. Jordan Love, fine QB2. Trevor Lawrence, I think, could be QB1 in the top 12 again. The Jaguars, I think should get better. I think he's going to have a good season again. So you just need competent quarterback play from those two, because Puka, JJ, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Jalen Waddle, there's enough points in that alone to win him a lot of games. So is it thin? Yeah. If any of those guys are, as we don't say, we never say anyone gets hurt on the show. So if any of those players are unavailable for any reason, that's where it's the roster construction comes into question.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Evan, to your point, everybody's sinking so much money in a super flex league, and because I got to get the quarterback, it's going to win me the league. Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love are not going to win you the league. But you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to lose you the league either. That's exactly right. They're not going to lose you the league. Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, and Garrett Wilson, that can win you the league. So
big time.
It's everything presumes health. That can win you the league. And if it doesn't, it's probably going to win you a hell of a lot of weeks and at least give you a shot to get in the playoffs, and just hope you catch fire for 2 or 3 weeks over the playoffs. So last thoughts, guys. We can take Broshev off the screen there, but Evan, I'll kind of start the wrap up with you. Even if it's not, auction focused, but from a dynasty perspective, any thoughts or words of wisdom when it comes to player values of things that you are looking for when you are seeking a value, when you are drafting? What maybe defines value to you when you're on the clock, from a dynasty perspective?
Well, so that also largely depends on the format of the draft as well. So, like, we're talking within the context of an auction draft. We already covered a lot of great examples of value pertaining to A.J. Brown being an unbelievable value considering the upside he brings. Yep. Like, to get an A.J. Brown for $23, yeah, obviously, like you were saying at the very beginning of the show, it's always league dependent. But in this particular context of this league, to get A.J. Brown for $23 should be criminal compared to other auction drafts. Like, that's an unbelievable value to get a great wide receiver, a veteran that you're going to have for at least 2 or 3 seasons to be the anchor of your wide receiver core is unbelievable value. And, oh my God, I just noticed. Terry McLaurin for $2? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Did I miss
that?
What?
Yeah.
How?
I almost threw my computer after we started going at one point to like a 10-second clock, and it was near that time.
He must have been everybody must have been out of money. That's the examples. He must.
Well, no, I had enough money that I could have, and I just didn't, because it just didn't work with my build, and I could have.
Well, why don't you offer Bryce Young and see if you get Terry McLaurin?
I might actually. But he has too many good quarterbacks. Not worth it.
That's the one person in the league that doesn't need quarterbacks. That's for sure.
No.
I'm fucking sitting here talking about A.J. Brown being a value. I just noticed Scary Terry one for $2. That's even better. That is the key with auction, is there are wild cards, right? I noticed earlier as well. I didn't bring it up on the show because we spent enough time giving other examples, but like Christian McCaffrey went for $22.
Yeah.
That's not too crazy, though.
19.
No, it's not. But when you look at certain players, like, would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Travion Henderson? Would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Kinshawn Judkins? You know what I mean? Like those guys both went for more than McCaffrey. I get it, the age, but like, serious question, Mike. Do you think Kinshawn Judkins over the course of his career
can be anything close
to what Christian McCaffrey has been as far as a dominator?
I mean, I can't look at the past, Dynasty. Though. I mean, do you think that he can replicate the numbers he did in his best year? Probably not. I still think he's a top 5 back that can do well year to year and just keep your team moving. We saw what he did just with his short time in Cleveland, and the fact that he didn't even get into really play until week 2. And then on top of that, his just career in college, it was unheard of. So I think he has a few years to go. I'm investing in somebody that can be a top 5. I don't think he'll ever reach Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, do I think Judkins is on the upswing compared to McCaffrey's downswing? Yeah,
Yeah, sure. That's the age component of it, right? Like we all want to get younger. I mean, the NFL's taught us
it's prime. Like, is
sure.
Christian McCaffrey still in his prime? Like, realistically.
No,
I'd
but
say
he's
so.
also I mean, he's also an outlier, man. Look, I mean, how old is Christian McCaffrey?
He's just an
30.
outlier. Yeah, he's an outlier.
But how old is
Derrick Henry? Like 33 or
32 and a half years old. And I don't think he's in his prime, but I think he's got 2
you got to
years
remember
left.
Also remember his particular what happened with his particular career. He didn't play the first 2 years. He played very minimally in his first 2-3 years in the league behind DeMarco Murray.
Right.
And then he finally got the ball and he started to show what he can do. And he is a monster and he keeps his body in shape and he's a big dude. Now, most big dudes don't last this long because of the fact they're that big. When you're big, you're a bigger target.
Cough, Todd Gurley.
Well, he had arthritis in his knees too, which didn't help.
I know. I'm just making.
But that's the whole point. Like he's a big dude that can actually. He's been taking care of himself, and they do what they can to limit his reps a little bit, and he's still able to produce better than anybody. I think he probably has one of the lowest snap counts comparative to a guy in the top, the top 5, 10 or whatever it is. Yeah, because he's really only on the field for first and second down. So I mean. Realistically, do I think that Judkins could have a year like Christian McCaffrey? I do think that's in the realm of possibility. But do I think he can do it year to year? Probably not. I think he's going to have I think he's going to spike in the next few years. I think he has one of those careers where it's kind of like a Jonathan Taylor type deal where he's up there for a bunch of times. He might not always be the number 1, but he's always in the top 5. He's kind of like, he's like Ricky Fowler back in the day in golf.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's possible. I think this is what Dynasty is all about. I mean, this is what fantasy is all about, is projections, right? I think this is why redraft. I'm not going to say it's easier to win because nothing is easy to win, but I think it's easier to project for a 1-year season than it is for a 2 to 3 year season of what 100%. Is going to happen, which is why I think more players play redraft than do Dynasty. I think that's why more people are interested, because there are serious redrafters, and then there's some casual redrafters, your quote unquote home leagues, and that's fine. But you don't really have a lot of casual Dynasty players. It's just not the format that someone can jump into and be like, yeah, I'll give it a shot for like a season. It's a 2 to 3 year minimum commitment before you're going to leave a league and go out as an orphan. So
I've seen hardcore people leave after a year after they shit all over the team, trade away all the talent for.
Yeah. That's why we started. That's why we started making people pay.
That's why
if you trade a draft pick, you got to pay for the next year because we're offering a free orphan. Because if you don't have a pick until 2029, that's no fun.
We had something like that in one of my leagues where in my salary cap league where one of the guys ended up not doing anything. And I'll admit he's my cousin. He pretty much. He did nothing. He didn't make a trade at all in the league ever. He never made a move. He never made transactions. He never added and dropped players. Like, he pretty much just kept the same team. He won 2 years in a row in the first year. The first 2 years of the league, he won.
Yeah, I mean,
and then after that, he didn't do anything, and he just didn't touch his team. And it got to a point where he was like, oh, I'm out of here. And we were just sitting there like, your team is garbage. No one is going to take this team. Thankfully, a guy took it. He's been working on it. He's actually been doing pretty well. He hasn't been doing great. He's still in last, but he's starting to build a little bit of capital. He's trying to get, he drafted pretty well the last 2 years. So it's getting better, but it's one of those things where it really hurts a league if you have that happen. In my league, we have too much. It's too much money to do the pay in advance thing. So it makes it much harder. We just, assume everybody's going to stay because we are all one big group. It's one big happy family, if you will, of people. So that's never fun. No,
that's a difficult thing to do. So we're going to wrap the show. I think if you obviously jump online, please follow us, the Fantasy Football Network. You can obviously jump onto all of our socials. And at the end of the day, we would love for you to continue to support the show. We appreciate you guys being here. This is literally why we continue to do this show. So yeah, I think it is always appreciated. I think the last piece is, of course, we're going to have more content coming out. We always do. So make sure that you jump on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button for us. Show links are in the bottom of the description, so you can jump on.
We're going to put the draft link in there for you guys, so at least you can see the board if you weren't able to see it on the particular screen there. It'll just make it a lot easier for you if you guys want to actually see what ended up happening. We'll put it in there as well.
Yeah. I have one league that we have left that is a Dynasty startup 12 team. It is a $25 league. We've got 5 spots left. It will be an auction draft. That is going to be the quarterback heavy one. That is Omaha. DM at P Ruskin if you are interested. I'm not throwing it out. It is on our private Discord channel. It is not on the Fantasy Footballers Discord. I am not inviting the casual, no offense, folk into that. I don't want someone that's going to come in and wreck the league, because I had that bad experience earlier this spring with 2 or 3 managers who will never be allowed to play in any of my leagues ever again. Mike knows all about that. But we want to make sure this is going to be a great league. We've got 7 really great managers. We need 5 more. So if you are interested, DM at P Ruskin. I will give you all the details, and you can decide if it's the right league for you. That's going to do it for us here at the Fantasy Football Network. This has been another episode of The Extra Point. We out.